So, I am back. And what I'd been thinking about were things that scare people. Everybody has something that scares you. Some people are afraid of the dark. Some people, such as myself, are terrified of spiders. Some people are afraid of thunderstorms. Everybody has their own fear that's particular to them. So with that in mind, I decided to attempt to make a list of 10 movies that scare the bleep out of me. Actually, it was really hard to do this. It was hard to get it down to 10 because I love horror movies. And then once I narrowed it down to 10, I had to put them in an order, and that was even harder. So before I get into the list, let me just stress that this is my personal opinion, and not everything on the list is a horror movie. These are just 10 movies that scared the crap out of me. Starting with number 10, the British film The Wicker Man. I'd never heard of The Wicker Man until I moved here way back in 2002. I knew who Edward Woodward was because he was prominent on a show we had back in the States called The Equalizer. But seeing him as the rigidly repressed cop trying to convince the islanders to help him look for a little girl that was reported missing, as the islanders claimed the girl never existed in the first place, there's a quiet air of tension throughout this entire film. And eventually, you get the sense that they're having him on, but when we reach the film's climax, it's not exactly what you expect. Anyway, that's The Wicker Man, 1973, number 10. Number 9 is Clive Barker's Hellraiser from 1987. Just the first one. I have a problem with sequels and franchises, and while Hellraiser 2 was decent, the rest of it went successively downhill. Hellraiser 1 scared me because of the wife's evilness and her willingness to have an affair with a man who was essentially dead until, blood spilled on the attic floorboards. The scene where Frank comes up through the floorboards, the music, the graphics and everything were truly terrifying. I watched that alone too, actually, now that I recall. I was alone at the time, and I had no idea it was going to scare me that much. And that feeling of fear still suffuses me even when I watch it today. Number 8, 2016's Train to Busan. I love zombies. I love Korean horror movies. They just do it so much better than anybody else. Train to Busan just does not stop at all. You're constantly sitting on the edge of your seat, heart on chest, hand on chest, struggling to breathe, and you are praying, that everybody, the three main characters, even the dad, who at first, he's not a very likable character, but as he evolves and learns to care for other people, you realize he's not such a bad guy after all, and you're just sitting there praying he and his daughter and Ma Song-duk survive. That's 8. Number 7. This is an old one. I watched this one with my parents. It was I think it was on one of those Friday night things in the States. It was either Big Chuck and Little John or Ghoulardi. 1962's Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I remember reading in an interview a long time ago that Betty Davis actually hated this film and she did it solely for the money. And of course, you'll be aware of the famous Betty Davis and Joan Crawford feud. But this movie is terrifying, shot fully in black and white. The shadows lend an atmosphere of doom to the film, and the way that Betty's character, Baby Jane, is frozen in time, but with an evil far beyond childlike years, makes it terrifying. The worst scene for me was when she's feeding her sister, and the sister removes the cover from the plate, and her pet bird is lying there, and on the other side of the door, Betty Davis is cackling away. As a child, that was really terrifying to me because my mom had a pet bird, so that kind of traumatized me. Anyway, it's still, pure class, and it has a place on my shelf over there amongst my DVD collection. Number 6, this is another old one. The original The Haunting from 1963 with Julie Harris, based on the Shirley Jackson novel The Haunting of Hill House. Again, as it's 1963, this is shot in black and white, and there are no real monsters per se. Everything is implied, and they make a pardon me. They make a great use of the shadows in the house and sounds and what Julie Harris herself is thinking. You get the sense, though, that the house wants her. She's convinced from the moment she arrives that she's meant to be there, and the house wants her specifically. But as it targets her, the other people in the house with her grow increasingly worried, and they try to convince her that she should leave, which doesn't sit well with her. If you've never seen the original 1963 version, give it a watch. You can find it on YouTube. Number 5, Candyman, 1992. I love Tony Todd. Dude is so scary. But Candyman himself in the film is not what scared me. What scared me was the poor woman who was trying to tell everybody that Candyman really exists, and she ends up doing a brief stint in an insane asylum, mainly because her husband wants to get rid of her to move his teeny bopper lover in. That is what scared me more than the actual Candyman himself. Although having said that, Tony Todd's voice, even without the hook, his voice is enough to give me nightmares. So that's why it's earned the number 5 spot on my list. Number 4, the 1945 version. I think this is maybe the second version too, of The Picture of Dorian Gray. That photo, the idea that everything bad he did was transferred to the photo. There was no way. Well, it wasn't a photo, actually. It was a painting. There was no way he could forget his sins or even redeem himself because there was a reminder. And the idea that he could just keep getting worse and worse and doing more and more bad things to people with impunity, I found that really terrifying. And again, I saw this, I think I must have been around 10 or 11 when I saw that. And it still scares me. And even though it's from 1945, it also has a place of honor in my home on my DVD shelf, and it still terrifies me. We're nearing the end. Number 3, 1956, The Bad Seed. We like to think of, or at least I like to think of, childhood as a time of innocence. Indeed, I think that's why I like little kids so much. They're innocent. They've not yet been corrupted by prejudice or anything, They're just happy and innocent. So the idea of Rhoda's evilness contrasted with her angelic appearance, it was shocking to me because she looked like a little angel. Although gradually you notice just a wee bit of sass, shall we say, in her so-called politeness. Good morning, Miss Fern. Good day, Miss Fern. And the way she curtsies, it's too perfect, and you finally get the sense that she is laughing at them. But the idea that she could commit murder the way she does in the film, after all, she is a child, was just really shocking, not only to me, but given the fact that it came out in 56, it shocked a lot of audiences at the time, too. The film's one redeeming factor is the end. If you've not seen it, I won't spoil it for you. Give it a watch. This, too, is on YouTube, and you want the 1956 version, not the remake. Number 2, in keeping with the theme of evil children, it's 1963's Lord of the Flies, based on the William Golding novel. I read the novel before I saw the film, and the novel terrified me. And this was done, I want to say Shepperton Studios, England. And it takes place at, while World War II is going on, a group of British schoolboys are on a plane that gets shot down, and they land on a desert island. And there are two groups of boys. One are just normal boys from a boarding school, and the other group are boys from a posh boarding school. And at first, everything is, it's a lark. They're on an island. There are no grown-ups. They can have fun all day long and swim and fish. But then the breakdown begins because there are no rules. And you end up with two factions fighting for power. And the leader of the second faction, you watch him descend into just total, I can't even think of a word for it. He just gets more and more ruthless. Actually, you know what? He reminds me of a certain president right now. But the whole movie is absolutely terrifying. You have Jack, who's like, he's the good guy. No. Jack is the bad guy. Ralph is the good guy. And then you have Piggy, who is the moral conscience of the group. And the way these three fight to keep some kind of order and sense of humanity on the island while they're waiting to be rescued just broke my heart, as well as scaring me, because I just knew Jack was not going to change. It still scares me. This is one of those things that I have the DVD and the book in-house, although I very rarely read the book. That takes us to number 1, and this is a timely film given what's going on in the Middle East at the moment. It's 1983's Testament with William Devine and Jane Alexander, and this was made before the end of the Cold War. Testament tells the story of a family. They're having an ordinary day. It's a very ordinary day. The father goes out jogging, comes home, kisses his wife and kids goodbye, leaves for work. And it must be a Saturday because the kids aren't going to school. They're puttering around the house. She turns the radio on, and there's that thing that we grew up with. I grew up with anyway, if you're a boomer. The beep, beep, beep on the TV going, this is a test. This is a test, or this is not a test. We grew up in the Cold War era, and I clearly remember the nuclear drills we had in elementary school, even though I was old enough at the time, even though it was elementary school, to know rolling into a ball, if they drop that bomb, that's it. That's not going to save you. So Testament covers what happens to this family in this tiny little town after the bomb drops. And it's told from the point of view of Jane Alexander, the mother. And you watch the breakdown of civilization in the town, and how even the school bully gets in on the act, stealing her son's bike, which the kid was using to go up to this elderly gent's house who had a ham radio. And he would go up to the guy's house every night trying to raise somebody anywhere in the world on the radio, to no avail. The ending is bleak, but then again, I think they deliberately made it bleak because in a nuclear war, there won't be any winners. That movie still scares me. It's still timely. That's Testament, 1983. My number one fear factor thing. Anything to do, actually, with nuclear war terrifies me. So that's my list. I hope you enjoyed that. Feel free to comment below. What scares you? What's the scariest thing you've ever watched? Thanks as always for tuning in. Special hi to, I really think he's my biggest fan. A special hi to my friend Bijou. Here's your video. The rest of you, all of you, stay safe as always, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.